welcome back to another video. I thought in this video we will do a little bit of painting in my sketchbook today. So before we get into that, as you've seen in many of my videos, I have this Yetee mini palette, which is just a small ceramic palette that has all my watercolours in, and it also comes with a mixing palette underneath, and it's all ceramic and it's beautiful to work with, and I absolutely love it, and I use it almost all the time that I do all my watercolour paintings. However, I was recently just gifted this GoDraw. Now this is a wooden palette, it has magnets on it, so you open it like this, it all comes apart, but it also has magnets to come together. And then these are enamelled wells and an enamelled well for mixing in, and I absolutely love it. I love the way it looks. It also has this little slot here, so you can attach this to your sketchbook kind of at the top like that, and have it there whilst you're painting, so you don't have to hold it in your hand if you're out and about doing some plein air drawings or paintings. And I just think it's a fabulous piece of kit. I absolutely love it. Now, the reason I mentioned my Yetee palette is that I obviously have all my watercolours in here, and every time I get new ones I fill it up. So I thought, why don't I use this for gouache? Now I have my Winsor & Newton set here of designer gouache. There are only 10 tubes in here, so we're not going to fill everything up, but I thought it would be nice to fill up what I can. The rest can be used for mixing, or perhaps have some very key watercolour colours in there, just so that if I only want to take this palette out, it feels like a bit of a complete palette. And then I thought we'd just do a gouache painting in my sketchbook. I thought why do whites always do that? I seem to have issues with white in any medium, putting out a lot of its the medium within it, the oils and stuff always seem to come out and not mix in the tube. I don't know why, it's very annoying. Yes, so I thought I would show a little bit of me filling this palette up as a little bit of ASMR. I mean, there's no noise, so I don't know if you can class that as ASMR, but it was satisfying to watch anyway. But yeah, it's a nice range of colours in this Winsor & Newton gouache set, and I think it works well. I think you've got your key colours for most things. I wouldn't complain. I mean, obviously you can always have a few extra colours, but I intended to use this with my watercolours as well. That's why I mentioned that those remaining 5 little wells there, I think I may fill up with some watercolours, some key watercolours, say some sap green, some, you know, burnt umber, and the neutral tint colour that I've been obsessing about recently. Just a few of those, just in case I don't want to take my mini palette with me with all those watercolours in. But yeah, the colours are good, and I wanted to just use those colours in this piece. So I chose this lovely owl that I'm currently sketching out. I've left a lot of the sketching process in this video. I'm not sure whether that's what people like to see. I do speed it up in a minute though, so don't worry, you don't have to watch me struggling to sketch in real time. But yeah, I think the owl turned out really well. I think the proportions are good. I did do a little bit of artistic license, which you actually don't see me paint on screen. I kind of do it off camera, where I actually extend the legs. So the reference photo I was using from, I think it was from Pexels or Pixabay, I can't remember, maybe Pixabay. It showed just the one leg with the other leg just creeping out behind it, but it does make the owl look one-legged, as you can see here, and it does look a little bit silly, so I do use a bit of artistic license and bring that leg out, and sometimes you do have to do that, because the reference photos look great because it's a photo, but when you're replicating it, it can look silly, like you've missed something off or something like that. So I do use that artistic license just to add that leg back in. One qualm I have about my sketching is I don't think I got this face quite right. The peak on the head is a little bit off, but luckily, because every creature is different in life and nature, I think I get away with it quite well, thankfully. So moving on to the actual painting process, I found I was working with these gouache almost like watercolours, and I know you can use them like that, and that's fine, and it did work well for me, but I think because of their opaque nature, I was struggling to not muddy my colours, especially with the limited colour palette as well. I was kind of trying to create this really warm golden colour, and I used my yellow ochre with a touch of the orange colour in there, but it was turning a little bit muddy because I wanted it to be darker as well, and the only colour I had to darken it was the black. I did try and darken it with the blue because there was an ever so slightly blue light hitting the back of the owl, so you can see it on the claws and just the tip of the head and the tip of that the feathers in the back there. I did add a little bit of blue to those, and so I tried to add that into my golden colour to kind of almost darken it without muddying the colour, and it did work somewhat, but like I say, the opaque nature of these did make it a little bit muddy. Please tell me in the comments below if I am doing something wrong with that, or whether that is just because I have a limited palette and I needed some sort of mid-range darker colour, or I don't know. But it was fun. It was fun to work with. This lovely golden colour I make here with the yellow ochre is a lovely starting colour, because the whites aren't quite white on this owl. They're kind of just an ever so slight glow to them, and I really enjoyed trying to capture that with this yellow ochre and white here. But the colours laid down really well. The sketchbook held up really well as well, considering it's just a sketching paper in here that's not very thick, and it seems to hold up well to my watercolours in general. It does buckle as I'm adding a lot of water, but it eventually flattens out, so I'm not unhappy with this paper. And I think the sketchbook's going to hold up well until I finish it, I think, luckily. But yeah, I enjoyed doing this owl. It was very, very fun to test out these gouache a little bit further. I have done a few little paintings with it, and I'm hoping to potentially make this into a sticker and potentially a print. I'll have a look at it once I'm done editing to see whether I'm happy with the quality of the painting. But it was very fun to work with, very fun, and to get the feathers was really, really difficult on this wing. It's kind of, there was a lot of detail, but also I wasn't quite getting the colours, so I was finding it really difficult to kind of map out those feathers and darken areas and make that illusion of where the feathers are curving round and overlapping on other feathers. I did find that quite difficult, but in the end I think it looks good. I think we achieved what I wanted to achieve, and the fine details of all the little dots on the feathers really brought it together, I feel, and I definitely think my favourite part out of this owl painting is actually the claws and the feet. I have a thing about doing bird feet, and I think that I capture them quite well, and I'm quite pleased with them actually. There you go, you can see that blue hint that I added on there. But yeah, I'll leave you to watch the rest of this video. There's not much to go, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.